All right. This is part 2.
Yeah.
Like we promised.
Part 2.
Still Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
And we spoke a lot about just recognizing it early the earlier the better, and understanding that it's just like your physical health and take care of it. And we were going to get a little further into understanding disorders and illness, and we're not going to try to come at it like we're doctors or anything.
Right.
We just note that this is the key thing to remember. When we see it with someone or within ourselves, and we again, that's why it's so important to be honest with ourselves. When things become extreme and consistent, which means that like every day there's a lot of anger, every day there's a lot of maybe indifference, or every day, and it's on an extreme, or every day every day is a bad day, nothing's good,
right,
depressed or something, and it's to an extreme and it's consistent. So those are where you go into the illness part, and then depending on what it's focused on, it could be that specific disorder.
Yes.
Okay. And it talked about here what it is not. So what is a mental?
All right. It said it is not the result of personal weakness, and it is. Oh, did you want me to go to the? It is a medical. Let me say that right. It is a medical condition that causes significant distress and disrupts a person's thinking, emotional control, and behavior. Can often upset a person's ability to relate to others and to handle the daily demands of life. Can affect a person of any age, culture, race, tribe, religion, educational background, or income level.
So you mentioned the word in there, distress.
Yes.
But we already talked about in the part 1 about emotions, but one of the main words or issues that pop up in all of these things is this one that's either you have on a higher level or a lack thereof, which can form into the illness or disorder, and that's stress. This is information I'm going to discuss or talk about, and me and Ansel talk about it, and we'd love to get your thoughts and comments on the coping with stress. Okay, so this is information actually from the CDC. It says many of us are facing challenges that can be stressful and overwhelming. Learning to cope with stress is a healthy way, and it will help you. You got to learn to cope with your stress in a healthy way. That's important. What does that mean? Now, I can give you some ideas of what it means or examples, but I'm going to go to you, Angela. Do you understand? Like, what do you perceive from what it's saying? Coping, you can probably give ideas from your perspective of coping with stress in a healthy way.
Right. And I can only speak to that from my personal standpoint too. Some of the things that I've done. Now, some things is like listening to music. Like I'll listen to music with no like just instrumental music. Let's say that jazz. It could be jazz. It could be lo-fi. It could be anything that it could be a walk outside listening to a lot of spa type stuff. And I've done that. To that. Yeah. So that's helped me. That's actually was really good at, helping me cope with stress. So
here's coping with stress in an unhealthy way. You may have someone to say, well, I'm going to go out and, pester animals in a bad way. I don't want to get into the details of that. Or bother someone just to cope with my stress. That's unhealthy. You don't de-stress by causing more stress or anxiety, not only upon yourself, but upon others. So you want to find ways to decompress or cope with stress in a healthy way. Angela mentioned a lot of great examples. It can be something as simple as reading. Some may say, I don't really know about that reading. But look, if you just try it and see if your mind can stay stressed and read something on something as your mind get into that. It's very impossible. It's difficult unless the reading is stressful, unless something in that reading is stressful.
So one thing that you mentioned about the reading, if you think about reading, that reading puts you in a different mind. You take
But
your
you
mind
can't do
away.
both. You can't be stressed about something,
Right.
and then read something that's, let's say, positive or more relaxing.
Yeah. So if you're not a reader, put it on a TV show or something that
Or music, as you
or
mentioned.
music. Yeah, that takes your mind away from that. Just focus on something else. Go ahead.
Or activity.
Yeah.
So you can say, you know what, I'm going to grab it. Let me just go grab a couple of items I think I might need. So I'm gonna do a little shopping.
Oh, I was going to say that
Go ahead.
shopping is a de-stressor.
Well, to elaborate,
It
in what
does.
way? In what way?
I would say and I've done this a few times. I've shopped just to keep my mind off stuff, but when you're shopping, you're thinking about what you're going to buy. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. Let me go over here and look at this. I need this for that. And you're thinking about where, especially if you're shopping for your room or you're shopping for yourself, clothing, whatever, how will this look? I mean, you're not focusing on the stress. You're focusing on what you're going to wear, where you can wear it to, the shoes. Oh, this go with the stuff I already have in my closet. Oh, these shoes will go with this or that. De-stressor. So that helps a lot. That does. Shopping.
That helps. Those things help to get them out. And what she's talking about is not on Amazon, not on some shopping thing. We're talking about physically going somewhere. That's completely different. And some people may say, well, I like this, or I developed like this because of the fact that it's crazy out there.
Yes.
I don't want to, who knows who's going to show up where. It seems like every day is something. And you know what? I really can't disagree. But then again, that's what certain aspects of the world want us to do. They want us to be isolated. They want us to be in fear. They want our minds to get within it at ourselves and truly believe that that's the state we're in. So we have to figure out how to unlock that kind of thinking, that vicious cycle, and then start taking activities. Like me and you may say, okay, you know what, we hadn't done, let's go do a picnic at the park.
Yeah. So
Not worry about, what if something happened? We'll never go anywhere.
yeah, and that's another disorder that somebody might have. That they're
Well, that
afraid
gets into
of
this aspect, and I'm gonna let you look at. I'm sorry.
They are afraid of their environment, and if they're out, and these are just examples too. We know a lot of folks, they got other ways of, taking their mind off of things and, concentrate on others, but those are just some helpful things.
All right, so I'm gonna look at it says stress that can cause the following. And I was touching on it earlier: feelings of fear, anger, sadness, worry, numbness, frustration. We all can get frustrated about things if we let it. Those are the things that can fester. Things that trigger it are that we know that it's affecting us is when we have a change in our appetite, energy, desires, and interests. So,
okay, I want to kind of note where it goes to the extreme that some people will try to cause you stress on purpose, or they try to trigger you on purpose. That's extreme. When someone is manipulating things to cause you to be a certain way, that is very extreme, because why would you manipulate another person into feeling negative or harming, better yet harming themselves? If you've noticed, especially, I'm going to go back to the youth, if this is happening at school, we've seen a lot of kids be affected by that, but that's showing that whoever the person is trying to manipulate this kid into feeling bad or feeling a certain way, there's something wrong with them. I shouldn't say something wrong with them. There's something wrong with them to, let's say this, to have the feeling of wanting to harm. That is to the extreme. And we call that bullying. There's something wrong with that, So we don't want to manipulate another person into feeling a certain way, causing that to trigger, that is not good. But there are ways and there is help out there. So we're discussing it.
Yeah. So I don't know. So some people may or may not even realize they're doing that. I don't know. It's hard to know. Like if somebody was manipulating me or bullying me or some way, it would. I guess it would have to be super obvious for me. Sometimes I truly believe that most people may do something that I'm speaking for myself, get me upset, trigger me on that. But if I'm rational, they're not doing it on purpose. Angela said some things that probably frustrate me, whatever, but I can't believe, very rarely would I even think that she's doing it on purpose. She's my wife and she loves me. So that's a good way to look at it. We're, with our mates, is that do things that irritate or bother each other? Absolutely. But to assume that we're doing it to each other on purpose, then we shouldn't even be that's just not realistic. But I guess in a school format, kids can be pretty vicious. Kids can be pretty mean. And yeah, they definitely more than likely are doing it on purpose. But even then, it's hard to tell. It's hard to evaluate. And in fact, sometimes it may be, until we know for sure, best to think the best until we know for sure. Now, if it's a consistent thing, yeah, it might be an issue. It could be jealousy or envy there. And yeah, they're doing it on purpose because they're jealous or envious of me. But when we think rationally in most cases about other people, especially people that love us, they just don't know they just don't realize it. They're just not comprehending that I ain't feeling good about this. And then I have to figure out how to relay it. If I can't, I have to walk away. I have to get away from a situation I can't explain well. Because all I'm going to do is it'll affect my mental health and I get more frustrated and mad. So that's why I keep coming back to check yourself. Like that saying say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check yourself all the time and keep your emotions in check. I'm not saying hide them and bury them deep, but keep them in check to a point where you don't lose it, where you don't make a situation worse.
That's true.
And sometimes reacting a certain way helps you not make it, where you may chuckle at something that really ain't funny, but that's your best way to cope with a situation that if you didn't laugh at it, you're going to be off. So you have to be like, you almost like, this is your way of, I'm gonna deal with this because I don't want it to be worse. And that's our mechanism. We all have a little mechanism. We may say, that could be like a thing of you, this is how I'm dealing with it. And somebody might be like, what is that all about? I don't know.
Well, you talk about tolerance too. People have certain tolerance levels around certain things that they can put up with. And that's a form of self-care, whether you know what you can tolerate with and what you can't. If you know that you can't tolerate with certain things, it's best to kind of put yourself in a position or a place where that's not affecting you. Because as soon as you're there and it continues to build up, it's gonna, because of imperfection, because of how you are as a person and what you can deal with, it will cause unnecessary stress on you, and you don't know how you are going to react to it. So just be aware of that.
And just deal with the fact we can't always make the other person aware.
Right.
They're going to be, this has happened to me. I'm sure it's happened. I know it's happened to Angela. Someone would come into your space and bother you and irritate you. And I promise you that's not their intentions. I promise you they didn't, come up or down or over to where you are and say, let me ruin Angela's day today. Let me ruin Chris' day today. It's just sometimes that happens. And you can't not control the other person, but you can start looking at how you can deal with it and kind of maneuver out of it for the sake of your own stress.
Sometimes people do come into your space and they do it on purpose, and they do want to cause you harm, and they do want to mess with your little, your little perfect little situation where they think you got a perfect little situation going, like, this person is too happy today. Let me say something to trigger them. And, let's see what happens. Some people just do it just to see what happens.
Especially if they want to see it. Can do it.
Yeah.
No, I know this will get them. And if they see it bother you, they'll do it again.
Yeah. So you have to be in control of you. What they say about a healthy mental health, when you have good mental health, is when you're in a good space. always be in that good space. Don't let anybody trigger you, whether it's on purpose or not. You're going to have to be in control of yourself. You're going to have to be in control of your thoughts. You're going to have to be in control. You are in control of your situation. You going to have to really kind of know what to do or how to prepare for situations like this, or whatever situation it may be. And I promise you, you feel better afterwards when you know you've dealt with something in the right way and you've protected your space. We'll say space, your space in regards to, it could be physical space, mental space. You was like, you know what? I could have did this, but I didn't do it. So because I didn't do it, I'm in a good mental health state right now. I'm not thinking about, this person came in my space and I told them off. I said, da, 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 da. You're thinking about negative stuff now. You're not thinking about, like, versus in your good space, you're thinking about, oh, this person did trigger me, but I didn't go there. I didn't go there with them. So I don't have any anything negative to say. Versus, you know what? Yeah, I told them this. I told them off. I told them this, that, and that, this. Yeah. But you're not in a good mental space. You're thinking about some negative stuff. And the body, like we mentioned before, the body reacts off of that. Your physical health reacts off of that. So be mindful of that as well.
Yeah, and you keep hearing us saying some of the same things. People say, well, how do you know? How do you know? How do I know? How do I know? What is it? Because sometimes you just don't recognize it. So this is what it's saying. And I touched on a little bit. So have you noticed maybe you're eating more or eating less? That can be one red flag you can look at. Okay. So I'm going to say, what about your concentration? Have you seen that kind of waver and change? Or overthinking? That could be a red flag. You're sleeping, where you may have insomnia, problem sleeping. And that depends. That could be part of heredity. It can be just part of stress or mental health issues. And then what you're dreaming, or what's in your conscious as you sleep. So those are some things. I'm
gonna say that is real. When you talk about the sleep, that affects your mental health too. I'm telling you. I remember one time I did get a good night's rest, and what I mean for me is I slept at least 7 hours or more straight without waking up. You feel so refreshed. And I'm not talking about just superficial surface level sleep. I'm talking about deep REM sleep.
Deep.
I'm telling you, that's priceless. That's priceless. Because, and when you're talking about the sleep too, you said nightmares and problems sleeping. So, yeah, that is something serious too. When you're having nightmares, yeah. So get that in check too, Mike. The nightmares and the problem sleeping. I'm working on my problem sleeping, and I know what it could be in it. And I'm not the only one. Millions upon billions of women on this earth go through different things as far as their body changing and trying to adjust to that. And that could be another segment we could talk about. The different things that could affect your mental health. Yes, we're talking about menopause, perimenopause. We're talking about menstrual things that ladies go through that could affect the mental health. But yeah, I found that one thing in regards to my sleep, if I ate a certain time at night, that affects my sleep. So I have to kind of, if I know I ate late and I go to sleep, I know that my sleep is going to be affected. So I try to adjust that. And that's me knowing myself. Some people don't have that problem, but others do. So there are different things that can trigger that. So it's good to be mindful of it.
Another thing could be because we know mental and physical are connected. So our bodies could react to something going on here. Examples of physical reactions. You can have headaches. So when your headaches may be increased, you having more of them, are they more piercing or something like that? That could be a flag. That's another example of, something's going, I need to check, I need to start seeing what's going on in my everyday life that's causing it. I'm not saying that's definitely it, but these are things that possibly, like, I'm not giving you a diagnosis that doesn't, some headaches are legit something else, and you just have to get with your physicians on whether they are body pains, stomach problems, rashes. Believe it or not, all these physical things could be in some cases triggered from what's going on here. So those are just signs, possibly. Sometimes it's just a rash. You got poison ivy, it's a rash. So, friends, I'm just trying to give you some insight on some of the things that hopefully can help you mentally. And
the skin rashes. Don't you hate when somebody can tell you when you're going through something and you got your skin rash from the effects of the stress? So,
but then, like, you got to be able to know, because Angela is like allergic to certain things, and she does it will cause a rash or dry skin. So again, I don't want y'all to say Chris is a doctor, he told me. I'm just saying that these are things that, okay, I know it's not my whatever I'm allergic to, whatever, and I know this, that, and the third. And then I think about it in combination, like, man, I'm eating more, I'm having problems sleeping, I got this mystery rash. How have your days been going? Have something been stressing you? Have you had maybe some weird interaction with people at your work? Things going on around you. What has been going on here can cause, because sometimes you don't know. Well, these are ways you could know.
Yeah. Also, because we're in the United States, I'm telling you, high dosage of GMO in the food is definitely a cause for concern for a lot of us. Everywhere you turn, there's GMO in our food supply. That is definitely high alert, red flags for us. So we have to watch that as well. In fact, we're trying to make changes too within our family, not just us. I mean, personally, this is a concern for the, for us and our family too. Making sure your food is natural as much as possible as you can. I know there are some difficulties in that whenever you turn around, there's chemicals and stuff. You read the label and you take this simple piece of food and you look at the label, it's almost half a page worth of chemicals. That affects your mental health. That affects your physical and mental health. So be aware and be mindful of that. There are products out there that are non-GMO, but there are also stuff out there that you read the label and it's simple. A simple label with simple foods that you can recognize. So, and
we're not going to get into the GMO. That's hard to pronounce.
Yes.
So look up.
It's actually genetically modified. And I think it's organism or something.
Yeah,
but that means
it's something because you told me what it was.
Yeah, that means pretty much.
A lot of y'all know what that means.
Plain and simple. If your food's been messed with,
that's right.
Your food's been messed with.
It ain't natural. It just ain't natural.
It's not natural. It's not natural.
So that
somebody messed with the food to make it a certain way, a certain texture. To make I think with corn, they did that in regards to the pesticides in the corn, to keep the bugs out. I mean, it's so much, and it could be modified several different ways. You don't know. And I don't understand it much, but when it's GMO, that means it didn't just grow up out the ground the way it's supposed to.
That's right. So somebody may say, hey, I don't think I need to go to the doctor, because again, we're not doctors, and we would recommend you know what your body, what's going on with you, so you have to decide whether you're going to go or not, or somebody can help you. But so you may say, well, what else can I do? I don't think I'm to that extreme. I don't think I'm just off the chain, as it were, or to a point where I'm just, disorder and illness. So here's some suggestions. It says, take breaks from news stories. That could be on two levels. That could be from TV or common devices. What does that include, Angela?
Take break from news story, including those on social media. It's good to be informed, but constant information about negative events can be upsetting. Consider limiting news to just a couple times a day and disconnecting from the phone, the TV, and computer screens for a while.
Maybe a little tough, but a little self-discipline in that. Sometimes it says take breaks.
Yes.
Not eternal. All right. And then this is what we're big on. Try to take care of your body.
Yes.
Comes back to how we always know physical and mental is connected. So staying physically healthy can improve your emotional well-being. And what are some of the ways to improve your health?
So eating healthy. So have fruits and vegetables, lean protein, whole grains, and low fat or no fat dairy. Limit foods with unhealthy fat, salt, added sugars. Yeah. So
there are many sites we can go to look at our health, and we can adjust it to around some of our eating habits, but adjusting that can help as well. And go ahead.
I want to add to that just 1 second. The sugars is one big thing for me. I found that when I decreased the sugars, that I was better as far as my mental health. My thoughts were a little bit more clear. Of course, I did keto, low carb stuff. I found that just helped me overall. I just found that I was able to function better and be able to manage my stress and anxiety during the day better.
Overuse of anything related to salt and sugar. You need salt for certain things in your body. You need sugar for energy, and your body turns on everything pretty much to sugar, and then it saves it as fat. So overuse of those things can produce problems for you. Now, this one's easier said than done. Try to get some rest if you can. And that's something we talked about. Be careful with certain substances, substance abuse. Overindulging in things are things that we should absolutely stay away from when it comes to that. So all those things are some of the things you can do before and after you get some professional help on that. So I hope this is helpful to you, and we can look at more of the disorders and the illnesses in part 3. But those are just if we're at a good place and we just need some slight adjustments. Those are some of the things, some of the tips we can do.
Totally agree. That was some very good information. Well, you see how the emotional side or the mental side is connected to the physical side. So that's important to know, and how much both of those tie in with each other. So if you know that you're good physically, your mental will, and either or, it will, it'll come together and you'll be in a good place.
Yeah. So it's another one from the Spice of Life. Try to stay calm. Try to enjoy the rest of your day. We all get anxieties. We all get those tough moments, but just be aware so we can manage through it. People care about you. People love you, no matter how much you think you're alone. So this is another one from the Spice.
Life.